Hello everybody, it's Jen, Scrapbena Creations. Welcome to the Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop. Today's hop is sponsored by a number of amazing companies that we all love. Here's the card that I'm going to be creating today. So I'm using the Traveling Cats stamp set by La La Land Crafts, which is absolutely adorable and a must-have if you are a cat lover like me. So I decided to do a fairly simple card design for today's hop because I know these videos can get quite long. So I just went ahead and cut out some alcohol marker friendly paper with a tag die. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp out this little kitty here sitting on the suitcase. I'm using my Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink. This is my ink of choice for Copic coloring. So while I do the coloring here, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the hop if you're unfamiliar. This hop is put on by Justine Hovey, and this go around there's over 30 crafty YouTubers who create in different styles and are at various levels. And it's just a way for you to get some inspiration, to learn about some crafters you may not have seen before on YouTube, and it's also a way to support the crafty community here on YouTube. So feel free to subscribe to those channels that you like along the hop and give a thumbs up if you enjoy the video. You can also leave a comment. There's over 50 prizes. To increase your chances of winning, you can leave comments on each of the videos that you watch. But it is not mandatory to leave a comment, but that is the way that you enter into the prizes, and you just need to let us know if you're international or from the United States in your comment. So I'm coloring up our little kitty here. I'm doing him in some brown colors because I want him to match the pattern paper that I'm going to use. So I'm doing a 4-color blend here. My darkest color is the E57, my darkest midtone is the E35, and there goes my kitty cat Lila. She wanted to see what I was doing, a little bit fitting for a cat card for her to make an appearance. As I was saying, my darkest midtone is the E35, my lightest midtone is the E53, and then my highlight color is the E51. Now there is quite a bit of difference between the E35 and the E53, so I will do a little bit of tip-to-tip technique as I try to blend out these colors. So to start my coloring, I laid down the lightest color, the E51, and just mapped out where I wanted my darkest shadows to be. Then I went ahead in with my darkest marker, the E57, in those areas where the shadows would be, so by the ears, above his nose there, where there'd be a shadow where his cute little chubby cheeks are, underneath his neck, and then in between his legs, his arms and legs, and there'd be a shadow as well at the end of the tail and where the tail rounds, as well as in between his little toes on his paws. So once I got my darkest mapped out, I went ahead and blended that back out with the E35, and then constantly kind of bringing that color out with every marker that I go through. So once I had the E35 down, I pulled that out with the E53 and the E51. Now I'm just going back over the image a second time. I didn't quite like the blending that I got the first go around. So that's the great thing about Copic markers or alcohol markers in general, is that you can lay color over top and continue to do that until you get the coloring that you want. So for the second time around, I decided to go a little bit darker and pulled that darker color into the image quite a bit more, and I was much happier with how that turned out in the end. So once I finish up the cat, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color the little suitcase, and I'm getting inspiration from the pattern paper, which I will show you here once the coloring is done. But I want to make like a coral type color, so I'm bringing out my reds I went ahead and I laid down my lightest marker, the R00, just to get the paper saturated so that the colors would blend more easily. And now I'm coming in with my darkest, which is actually quite a dark red. It's the R24. And I'm using that in my areas where I want the deepest shadows to be. So around those little decorative edges on the suitcase, under the kitty, which you'll see here as I do this. The first time I forgot, and I'm now coming back and making sure to lay in some of that darkest shadow under the cat as well as under the suitcase handle. And then I'm going to blend that out with the R22. I'm using those two colors quite sparingly because I do want this to look more of a coral color than I do a red. So once I get the R22 down, I'm going to blend that out with the R20, and you can see how that makes it much more of a coral color than a red. Once I finish with the R20, I'll bring that R00 back in, and I am using the same colors for the kitty's nose just to keep the colors consistent and not have to bring in any more markers. I'll go ahead and blend that out with the R00 like I mentioned. And then I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to move on to the little closures on the suitcase as well as the handle, and for those I want them to be black. So I'm going to bring out my cool gray markers here. I'm using the C7, the C5, and the C3. Just adding some highlights to the left hand sides of the closures and then the rounded part of the handle. Quickly there, I just did the little decorative edges on the suitcase. I used a 2-color blend with E53 and E51. So again, bringing back a couple of those colors I used in the cat, but because I'm only using the 2 lightest markers, it looks quite a bit different from the kitty itself, but again, just keeping those colors consistent. Once I got that done, I decided that I wanted my suitcase to have much more of a contrast. So I'm going ahead and I'm going to color that a second time. I'm going to color it the exact same way I did the first time, but I'm going to add a little bit more of that R24 and a little more of the R22. I also went ahead and put the R22 along all of the edges of the suitcase this time, just to kind of balance it out a bit more, and I think that definitely gave me more of the look that I was going for. Also just wanted to darken up the kitty's nose here, and then we're going to move on to the background for our tag. So I just stamped the image out onto some Simon Says masking paper, went ahead and put that down onto my tag, and I'm just going to use my makeup brush here and do a very light Distress Oxide background using my Peacock feathers. And you can see here I'm dabbing off most of that ink onto my laminated piece of cardstock there. I did get a little bit of a dark spot on the tag, which I'm rubbing. I'm just going to go ahead and take my white eraser, and that comes right up. Now I'm going to move on to stamping the sentiment. I chose the sentiment Born to Roam, which I thought was super cute. And I'm just going to stamp that out using my Versafine Clair Nocturne ink. And here's a look at the pattern paper that I'm going to use for the background. As I said, this is a very clean and simple card design. I didn't want to do anything too elaborate. As I mentioned, I know there's a lot of videos on this hop. So I wanted you to check out my video, but quickly get on your way to the next person in line on the hop, which you'll find in the description box below, as well as all the products that I used today. So I simply cut out that pattern paper with a stitched rectangle die. This pattern paper is from Bo Bunny, Escape to Paradise, and I thought with all those cute little suitcase, it matched perfectly with the image. I went ahead and I popped the tag up on some foam adhesive just to give that a little bit of added dimension. Then I went ahead and cut out a couple of these paw prints from some Desert Storm cardstock. So I cut out 3 of those, and I'm not going to make you sit through me putting this all together. I just kind of wanted you to see my process of where I thought I would put these little paw prints and where they ended up. Now these are a little bit challenging to work with just because they're separated. If I can find a die of a paw print where they are all connected, I will go ahead and link that one instead of this one. I mean, this isn't too bad to work with, but it would definitely be easier if there is a paw print out there where they are, all the little pieces are connected. So I'm just going to figure out where I want these. The one little piece of the paw print that I've left there on that piece of paper, I am going to add some foam adhesive to. That way it will be level with the tag because it's kind of hanging off. I'm going to use some liquid glue to adhere those little paw prints onto my card. I'll just show you the one here, and then I'll go ahead and I'll add the rest of the adhesive off camera, or edited that piece out anyways, and then we'll do some final detailing on the card. You can see here where I'm struggling just a tiny bit to get those into place. So that's why I liked using liquid adhesive for that, so I could move them around a little bit before the glue dried. So I'm going to bring out my white gel pen here, and I'm going to do some detailing. I'm going to add some to the toes of the paw prints. I'm going to add a little bit of shine to our kitty's nose, and then some detailing to various parts of our little kitty's body. And to finish off, I'm going to add some highlights to the suitcase. And finally, I'm going to add some Glaze black gel pen for the eyes. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave your comments by June 5th. All prizes will be announced on June 10th over on Justine Hovey's YouTube channel. I hope you've enjoyed the card today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you really soon in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.